Do you know? Let's go back a year or so ago because I want to give Monty all his flowers right now. Do you know if the deal to trade Tyrese for Sabonis was his baby, so to speak? Like he's the one that said, "I want to do this," and then went around convincing people that this is what we should do, or did he have to be convinced by someone? Do you know how that story went?
It's a good question. I will tell you this, that there had to be conversations with Vivek to make sure that it was communicated like this is what we're doing, right?
Mhm.
Um, like he had to convince Vivek that trading Tyrese Halliburton
Right,
was the right thing.
right,
And at the end of the day, that's one thing that I really like about Monty. Um, like I've had conversations with him, uh, like plenty of conversations with him over the last couple of years that he's been here, but like he wins battles behind the scenes.
mm,
Like he talks to Vivek Ranadive almost every single day, and he is convincing enough in that setting to keep the Kings on course.
mhm,
Where I feel like in past situations that was not the case, where other people weren't able to convince somebody to choose the right path. And we saw it with Mike Brown. We saw it with the Sabonis trade. Like we keep seeing this perfect path that Monty has kind of like set forth for the Kings, and you hope that he continues to build on that. But like, you got a guy that can convince the boss of the right path to go,
mhm.
and in Sacramento, that's huge because that has not been the case multiple times where things go sideways, and it's not one person's fault, regardless of how much we heap, sort of criticism on Vivek Ranadive. None of those decisions were made on his own. There's always somebody in Sacramento sneaking around, like whispering in people's ears. And I'm not saying one person. I'm not pointing a finger at someone in the organization now, but in the past, there's always somebody. It doesn't matter who it is, there's always somebody. And I feel like for one of the few times, you got someone who's whispering in his ear that has the right motivation, the right moral compass for success.
And these wins, so to speak, of the trade and the draft picks and the coaching decision and free agency, that's all just building equity in his relationship with Vivek or whatever. Like it could be, it may not have to be much more convincing anymore, right? Like Vivek may look at it where this guy last 4 times he's had to convince me of something and he's been right. Monty, you ain't even got to tell me, man. You just, if that's what you feel, I'm riding with you. You may have built that type of equity up with this run that he's been on.
Vivek is never going to be someone that doesn't want to know all the details. No matter what, you're going to have to share with him everything. You're going to have to lay it out for him. That's who he is. It's how he thinks. You're going to have to sell whatever it is you're doing to him.
Mm.
And that's okay. I mean, everyone's different. We all, like, in life, we've all had bosses. We all have to figure out how to work with each individual bosses. Like even for me, I've said this multiple times. Like every time the Kings switch head coaches, which has been 9 times in my 13 years, like it's like starting a new job where you've got to figure out ways to build relationships and what a coach likes and doesn't like, and how they manage. Like I talk to players and media members today. I've never been through anything like this. Like the Kings just played, what was it, 5 games in 7 nights, flew home and had practice yesterday.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen this. Like we have shoot around every single home game without fail, unless it's the second night of a back to back. We don't have a shoot around that morning. Every other game we have shoot around. Like this team practices more than, like, probably at this point in the season, 12 to 15 more practices than any team I've ever covered. I mean, it's like exhausting for the players, it's exhausting for media to be there we're there all the time with this team. So, it's an interesting vibe that they have going, but it's good.
You think and I think you posted a video yesterday. They were a little lively at practice. Do you think that's just the post trade deadline exhale from a lot of those guys?
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. Again, like I've seen so many players that just like,
That's tough. Like we don't really talk about that
yeah,
aspect of it. Like you had the video of Kessler yesterday. Like it's a grown man.
Hmm.
It's a 22-year-old young man who just got
22-year-old
shipped from Brooklyn to Sacramento, and it's like, oh God, and he's smiling and he's doing all the things. But it's like, God, it has to be so tough for these guys.
he got drafted to a team last year or traded to a team after draft, however he got to Brooklyn. He's a second round pick. He joined a team with like Kyrie Irving
Yeah.
and KD and Joe Harris and like a James Harden, like a really, really good team. And it's all blown up. Like,
Mhm.
I don't even know what's going through his head. Talk about, how many, Davion Mitchell's had 3 head coaches. Like, that's one thing, but at least you're still in the same place. At least you still have, some of the same people around you, the same players,
Oh,
some
he's
of the
had
same
multiple
coaches.
he's had 3 head coaches now too.
Yeah.
Right.
This
He done seen it
season,
all.
he's had 3 head coaches this season.
He done seen it all in the NBA.
Yeah, it's wild. Like some of the situations that these young guys get put in, it's just horrible. Like I've seen it time and time again, especially here in Sacramento. Like
Yeah.
it's just like you break the spirit of some of these kids. You make them lose their way because you don't have the structure and stability in place to support them. And it's tough, So
We're talking
hopefully
about that with the Rockets, and even we use the example of James Wiseman today. Like, how is James Wiseman? If you believe James Wiseman has game, how is he going to get better in Detroit? We were talking about Jabari Smith. How are those guys going to get better in Houston? Like, it's tough. We look at it. Oh, like Paolo, you got free reign to do all this stuff. Like, great, but like then what? Like, how are you going to get better? And I think Paolo and Orlando situation is a little bit different than Houston and Detroit. I feel bad for those young guys there because I don't know. I feel like they're going to wind up being those players that get lost, can't develop, and then just get moved around.
I totally agree. I mean, like how many first round picks have I watched just bust out in Sacramento? Like
Too
Sacramento,
many.
it's really sad for a lot of. It's not just the young guys get raked over the coals. The older guys, this is their last NBA stop. Like, will Alex Len get another job after this? I don't know, but I can tell you that Costa Koufos was like known around the league as an NBA good guy. Still, he was like 30, couldn't get another job. I mean, he's playing right now in England, like 33 years old, couldn't get a job after his contract here for no reason. But how many guys can I tell you like left here and never got another NBA job? Oh, it's a stack. So that's one of the things, the cultural things you have to change. You have to change the development of young players and how they're viewed and the stability and support that you put around them. And then you have to change where you're not like a place that people fear going. And it's going to take a lot. It's not just one good season of play.